for our third game right now. As you said, 2-0 up for MMA. He's starting down here in the bottom left-hand corner as the red Terran.
Did you know that Cloud Kingdom is my favorite map of all time?
I did know that, Lauren.
I did not.
It is.
It's actually...
Maybe it will give Huck good luck.
Maybe. He needs it. Over here in the top right-hand corner is Huck, and he has a sad panda bear right now. As he is down 2-0, he needs a lot going for him. And on Cloud King, definitely an interesting map for TVP. I haven't really put my finger on it if I like it so much for Protoss. I feel like there are a little bit of options, but I think what Huck is really saying to himself is when I actually take my third base, it covers my main base. There's only one tiny little place where Terran can drop that you can't really cover as well over here. But still, by that time, you're on 3-base economy. You're able to actually warp in enough units to counter drops. So maybe that's the thought process. He just wants to play on maps that are much, much easier to defend going into that longer game. I wouldn't even say that because he's not really a long game-oriented player. We'll see what he does with his gateways. Someone very cleverly posted in Team Liquid forums, Huck lives and dies by his gateways, and I have to 100% agree with that. You always see him do this in not only the NASL, but in all of his PvT matches.
Why does everything have to be a bear, Andre? You say bad news bear, manor bear, sad panda bear.
Because bears epitomize everything in human existence.
Not cool beans.
That's not necessarily
No,
true.
I'm pretty sure that's why.
Yeah, you might as well just say cool bear instead of cool beans.
You can say cool bear, but I'm pretty sure Colbert will actually sue you for that.
No, he won't. I agree with what you say, Andre. Huck, his aggression is usually his trademark, but I don't think Huck has to. I think Huck can... I think the build he showed last game is already showing another side of him, which is awesome. The mind games, the ability of just saying, I'm not just this one-dimensional player. I can still change it up. I have obviously more than one build, which is... For a lot of us, we thought it was just 3-gate pressure the entire time. The tech choices from Huck was really smart last game, but again, MMA picked the exact moment to strike. Now, MMA is doing a little bit of a different route this time. He's going for 1 gas and a factory, so he's going to start Hellion production.
Yep.
And he can go for a Hellion drop early on. Now, we've been seeing this quite often, about a month and a half ago. Maybe still even recently, because we haven't seen too many Terrans be able to play, to be honest. But I think Hellion Drop is very, very effective against a 1-gate tech, like a 1-gate robo.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the most
I have to agree. It's very hard to actually scout this out. It's very hard to get your units in positioning. And a lot of times, SimCity is the one way to actually really defend against some sort of pressure like Marine Hellion drops. You're going to see the Hellions being dropped into the main, especially on Cloud Kingdom, how there's so much surface area on this outside. And then the Marine's going to join up with that one medevac to attack the natural. That's going to be very, very rough for Huck to actually handle. How does he actually defend this? He has to know it's coming, and one of the most important ways to actually do that is to have presence out in the map. This one Stalker is actually so important. Some Protosses, in the lower leagues, they don't have the Stalker coverage that Huck does, or even the Masters, Grandmaster players. And you need that. It's one of the most important things in this game. You're going to see the 3 Hellions already out here. He's not going to make any more than 3, it looks like. And look at this. He's actually mind gaming Huck. He's saying, okay, I know you're so used to going 3-gate pressure. Let me go ahead and just play defensively. And from here, I'm just going to try to do a little bit of Hellion pressure when normally you're going to be the one that's pressuring really, really hard. I think this is a little bit early, though. But Huck's going to fend this off super easy, Frodan.
Yep. 3 gateways follow-up is a really nice way to transition, I guess, Alpha the early gateway. Cloud Kingdom is also a very interesting map because of how choky it is. It's very difficult to say who's favored from the overall on the map. I would say, Protoss have normally a much easier time defending the 3 bases than they do on a map like Daybreak or Antigua Shipyard. And as a result, Protoss feels a little bit more comfortable in the mid game. But at the same time, Terran can really just do whatever they want moving across the map-wise. Counterattack and flanks are very powerful. Just because there are chokes doesn't mean you can't get surrounded by units. And we've seen players like Flash really be able to capitalize on that, especially if you watched Code 8 last night.
That's right. Marines are actually not going to pressure the natural. Kind of interesting play. Just playing it very, very passively. A lot of different combinations happen. Now, still, Huck is in the dark, but what I love is he actually went and observers. A lot of players actually go Immortals in this position. I feel like that is most of the time the wrong decision. You want to get your observer out on the field as fast as possible because you want to verify what your opponent's going. Is it 1-1-1? Is it going to be another command center? Is it 2 command centers? Is it Banshees? All of these things you have to verify, else you're going to be playing a very inefficient route. After Huck actually scouts out and sees, okay, you have a command center, Huck can probably, you know, just say, I'm safe. I can chrono boost my probes out. There it is. Chrono boost on both of the Nexus. And just go ahead and play macro. That's all he really needs to do. Tech up to Colossus, get additional units. Know that you're ahead by having this Nexus out in the field and all the energy is being saved up. You can materialize that into chrono boosts. Or into economy, excuse me.
Well, Huck is going for Immortals just to be a little bit safer. You can stay on Immortals while you tech. It gives you just a more strong anchor, especially against Marauders. Ooh, Huck's going to spot one medevac here with his Stalkers, and that's going to be a great pickoff if he can get it, and he should.
Yeah, nice.
Nice job. Very nice.
Does manage to actually squeeze out here with 2 of the Marauders remaining. A little bit of chase is going to be given, but Huck really can't follow that too much, as there could be potentially more Marauders, more Marines, Concussive Shell, and additional medevacs just waiting for those units to approach. So I like what Huck did there by just backing off. As you can see, still an economic lead for the Terran over here, but I have to say I like Huck's position a lot more.
Yeah, Huck is really taken the notion to stop the drops, and he's been playing very well on point with his vision. He's going to catch another one of these Hellions. He's also on the hunt for the medevac. Really wants to pick it off.
Yes.
Overall, Huck's position is still pretty good. He's going into Robotics Bay to get Colossus out. Now, this is interesting choice. We don't normally see the Colossus follow-up this delayed. It's usually much earlier, so you can get the Colossus count if you want to push, especially if Terran wants to go for any kind of like 3 base. Like he pressures off of 2 base, but he's trying to move into the 3rd base, you know, and that kind of, I guess we can call it 2.5 base pressure. But he's going into Colossus pretty late, 11.5 minutes. Andre, what do you think about Huck's choice here?
You're kind of forced to. You can't really go for Twilight Council, in my opinion, because you haven't gotten Forges. You really need those Forges to empower your gateway units, because really, you know, Colossus, if you go that tech, Colossus are the ones doing most of the damage. If you go for gateway tech for High Templars, you kind of need to split it. You know, you can't really rely too much on those High Templars. At the same time, you can't rely too much on those gateway units. So, double-pronged attack over. He will be able to take out the robotics facility. Wow, what a big, gigantic advantage. Now Marines do get denied over the natural, but man, taking out that robotics facility, critical, Frodan.
Yep.
That is a winning move right there. Because of that sole pickoff, MMA is gigantically ahead, because now MMA says, I don't have to make any form of anti-air. I don't have to worry about those Colossus just pressuring down at me. I know you're relegated to only gateway units. If you don't have any Forges, if you don't have High Templars out, Marines, Marauders, Medevacs will wreck you. Absolutely wreck you. So he's just going to mass up in a ton of units, push out, and honestly, that should again give him another win. I actually foresee a 3-0 if Huck can't make something happen.
Well, he's going to restart Colossus anyways. No attempt at 3rd base from Huck. He does have a great pool of gas, which he can use for Templars if he so desired, but Huck's army is looking pretty feeble compared to MMA, and the worker supply is pretty even, but that's going to change very soon as MMA gets that 3rd orbital command. MMA now moving, and Huck senses that he needs to start buying some time, so he's going to force field the ramp. But MMA can just attack at 2 different spots, and Huck's very vulnerable. He doesn't have Twilight upgrades to even make his gateway strong.
Yeah. Now, charges on the way. You can see +1 is almost finished over here for Huck. But when it comes down to it, I mean, he really has no potential to get a 3rd base. As soon as that Colossus pops out, which I think it already has. Yes, it has. you know, it's not really going to really substantiate any grounds to actually take a third base. You need just so much more. Killing that robotics facility was just gigantic, and now there could be a potential mass doom drop, which it looks like MMA is going to do. I like this, Frodan.
Oh, not really a doom drop, a double drop, but how does Huck split up? Can he even afford to split up? He's also supply block. He can't warp in units. He's also taking free damage as well. Huck gets to control this perfectly. He's getting attacked with 2 fronts. The stim at the natural. The forces are not put up at all because Huck wants to take care of the main first. But another stim from MMA. Oh, he's playing with fire though because some of the units are double stimmed. And the Colossus does add some pretty good DPS. The Vikings are working onto the count and Huck is pulling back. But his supply count is not looking that good. But then again, MMA's units are pretty weak. Another stim might give the Zealots an ability to clean them up if Charge can finish, but Huck might run out of time. The factory wants to drop as well. The Immortals are also trying to do some pretty good DPS as they can pretty much one-shot these Marauders. But the big flank also, Huck force feeling the ramp, but still the Concave has been set. Huck's Torment life might be over now. GG, MMA takes the series 3-0. And back-to-back-to-back victories will punch his ticket for the round of 16 playoffs.
3-0, 3-0. Puma and Huck get knocked out. 2 EG members. Very unfortunate end to the NASL career for 2012.
Really well done by MMA.
Yeah,
though.
MMA
Gosh.
outplayed him.
Like,
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
It's supposed to be his worst matchup, man.
Yeah.
Like,
that didn't look like his worst matchup.
He made it look very easy, and that was the skill of MMA. And Huck, I don't feel like he played anything necessarily wrong. In the beginning, his drop defense was perfect, absolutely perfect. And then all it takes is one time to slip, and kind of like a moment where he couldn't decide to split how his unit appropriately. But that kind of split is so tough to make because you don't know. Is he just going to push him more to natural? Is he going to drop into the main more? Like what can you do?
Yeah,
snipe the observers.
You know, when it comes down to PVT is probably the most unforgiving matchup for both races. I mean, if you go behind, if you're Protoss, if you go behind, if you're Terran, you can expect to be behind the entire game. There's no real comeback potential, and that's why it's really, really difficult for both these races to really substantiate some sort of like huge like all in directly after that or anything. He can't really take a third base. He can't all in. There's nothing he can really do because of how hardy Terran is with those medevacs, with that high medevac count. Remember, instead of Vikings, he's making medevacs. You push that robotics facility tech just 2 minutes off, and that's 8 medevacs or 4 medevacs. The difference is quite marginal, and that's why MMA looked like he just manhandled that army at the end. It's because the healing power is just so very extreme.
Well, I always thought PvP was the most unforgiving. But I think
to my mind of that.
I think
completely.
I think PvT is true because when you think about like Zerg versus Protoss, we've seen Protosses lose everything and then make Immortals and re-all in and win. Like, so that can happen. And obviously Zerg has Infestor, so anything involving Zerg is always out of the question.
But even Force Fields, Vortex, I mean, we saw that game Manaverse Lowly. Lowly was up 5 bases or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mana still won. I mean, there's comeback potential, don't get me wrong, but at the absolute top level, I feel like PvT probably has the least amount of comeback potentials with the power of tech switches and your ability to just sway your opponent's army composition so easily if you're ahead and just really take it to your opponent. For instance, if I am ahead of you and I'm Terran, I'm just going to overkill whatever tech that you're choosing. I'm going to mass scan and I'm going to overkill it. There's no way you can do anything.
I think my policy on comeback is regeneration and the ability to swing heavily. So like mules and mash drones, even healing to an extent, like healing and small bio packs, even transfuse, that kind of allow comebacks. That's why I always thought Protoss has the least amount of regeneration abilities. They have the least comeback potential. But that's just my opinion. And I actually really liked hearing your side of the story. So now that we had 2 series done, let's look at an updated bracket to see where everything stands. Golden has advanced. MMA has advanced. And only one person can go through the wildcards, Vibe or Alicia. Andre, this is not looking good for foreigners, let me say that.
No, it is not. Naniwa, Sen, and Sort of are the only ones. I guess 3 out of the 5.
We had the Muslim too.
Oh yeah, that's
but
right.
only 4 out of 16 right now are foreigners.
4 out of 15.
4 out of 15. Vibe could be the last one in. The USA champion versus the MLG Spring Championship runner-up. What will happen? We'll find out right after that. But we also want to thank Epson, #1 projector brand worldwide. Check them out at epson.com. While we take a break and get ready for our last series of the day, Vibe versus Alicia. We'll start things off in just a minute, so we'll be right back.